Settle in. Good morning, Deb. Thanks for those. That thing works great. I love it. I sit on my sofa and my green sofa, and I love it. Hey, there's Pastor Jason. He's somewhere down there. Where there?
I'm excited, man.
You're excited. Okay, you ready? Welcome, Facebook and YouTube, to Amana's teaching from 9 to 9:30 called At Zero. And today's subject is going to be in Matthew chapter 13, so you know. You know Jesus could be critical at times, right? You see it in his writings.
When he turned down the tables?
Yeah, he turned out the tables. He kicked tables down. He would address the Pharisees. And at times he was just truthful. And sometimes the truth hurts. You know, it addresses issues that need to be thought about, things that need to be thought about. So we're going to go into chapter 13. The title's Soul Train.
Soul Train. All right.
If y'all old enough, remember Up on Soul Train. So, that's right. Soul Train. No, not Soul Man. Soul Train. So, yeah, it was a dance thing. Because if you start up, if you play Soul Train right now, I'm not going to be able to preach. I might moonwalk, but I won't preach. So, the reason, yeah, that's it. The reason it's named that is because we're gonna look at, and I'm gonna ask, but when I ask you this question, I need very short answers. Okay? I don't need long answers because we're live. About Jesus. Yeah. Here's the deal. The parable of the soils. We're all familiar, I think. I'm looking at you, parable of the soil. When you think of that parable, what do you think of? Give me a 2 or 3 word description. What do most people think of when they think of the parable of the soils? Huh? Evangelism? Is an answer? Yeah, too many letters. Evangelism. How about? You said it when we were driving to Monroe.
Oh, well, we hold up.
Salvation. It's a picture of salvation. That's what it's taught that way. Now, those things may be a part of it, but when we listen to it and we read it, I'm going to point it out every time. And you're going to realize, oh, this deals with the soul of a person. That's where Soul Train comes from. That's where the idea, and watch, and we're going to see, he's going to set it up really well. And so I'm going to read in chapter 12. And I don't know why I'm reading this, but verse 46 through 50 is, and it's titled, Jesus Describes His True Family. That's interesting, huh? If they put here that Jesus is describing his true family, then there's something that he really values above something else. There's something really valuable to him. So, I'm going to read that, then we'll get into 13. While Jesus was still talking to the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside wanting to speak to him. Someone told him, "Your mother and brothers are standing outside wanting to speak to you." He replied to this person who said that, "Who is your mother? Who is my mother and who is my brothers?" Jesus is always speaking spiritual. He's always doing this, continually. Pointing to his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." And I noticed one thing. What do you notice is missing in his earthly family? His father. He never relates to his father as earthly. He relates to his father heavenly, spiritual. He doesn't add that. He says mother, sister, and brother. But he does not say father. That was intentional. Okay? That's the only thing I wanted to bring up on that. Let's go to chapter 13. Titled, Jesus Tells a Parable of the 4 Soils. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Man, he had a house right by the lake. He's probably staying with one of those fishermen of his. They probably stayed close to the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he had to go into a boat and sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, so he's going to tell them this parable, but there were many things that he spoke about in parable form. He said, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Okay, look at the word path and understand that that is a beaten down, padded down ground. Nothing grows. Have you ever been on a trail? Okay, and it's beaten down and it doesn't grow for a while. So he's talking here, this is a hard-hearted situation. Deals with your soul. Okay, so he said, some fell along the path and the birds came and ate it up. That's number one. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Okay, soil number two, rocky. Joe mentioned to me that you don't pour concrete, you pour cement. Concrete is cement that's already hard. I didn't know that. So you pour cement. So what's happening is if you ever gone to a piece of property that you bought and there was something built there in the past and you start digging and you find chunks of concrete. Okay? Think of concrete thoughts that man has that were not placed there by God. That's what you want to think. So these rocky places have been established in the mind of the person, and they're still there. Sometimes they're hidden. You don't know. They're underground. It's rocky. You don't realize. You think it's good soil, and it's not. So in the believer's mind, or if you're talking about salvation, the unbeliever's mind, there are things that are there they don't realize, and the seed cannot, if it's thrown there, it's not going to last long. The soil is not correct. The condition of the soul is not correct. Notice that soil, S-O-I-L, and soul, S-O-U-L. I mean, believers like those cute things. But anyway, we're talking about soul. And I'm not going to confirm that we're talking about soul. Jesus is going to confirm it with his own words, that that's what he's really addressing in the parable of the four soils. Then he says, other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Okay, that's a third type of soil. And then he says, still other fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 130, 60, or 30 times what was sown. And then he says this. He says it again. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Talking about your soul realm, your thought process. He's talking about your thought process. See, it all starts there because the battle of the knowledge of good and evil that man has and the true knowledge of good and evil that God has, there's a battle there. And mankind only knows this one for the most part. Then he's born again and salvation comes into play. They have a new spirit. They also have a soul that's been cleansed that they might receive the things of God. The problem is man still has the option to revert back to his first birth thinking. Here's our battle. Is God, we want that gone. If you're going to pray anything, Lord, I want it gone. I'm not going to lean on my own understanding, and I'm going to absorb what you have to tell me because you've made my spirit in such a way that can take place. Okay? Now watch what he says. We're going to go to verse 10. The disciples came to him and asked, why do you speak to the people in parables? Now, they're probably including themselves in that. They're saying, why do you speak to all those people in parables? And what he's really saying is, we're in that boat, by the way. You know that the disciples at this point have walked with him for a while, probably listened to him speak in parables, and they don't know what it means until he explains it to them. Right? But later on, he's going to explain this to them. But watch what happens and how he says this as we go through it. Verse 11, he replied, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven had been given to you, but not to them. Okay, so here's John saying, Matthew, what he means that we already got it. He says, do you understand that? And Matthew's saying, I don't understand what he's saying yet. So why is he saying now that it's already been given to you? When they haven't been born again yet of the Spirit of God to understand it. And he hasn't explained it yet. But he says it's already been given to you. He's going to say it again. Before he explains, he's going to say it's already been given to you. You know what he's saying? He's saying the condition of your heart is such that it can now receive what I'm going to tell you. That's what he's saying. He knows that when they're going to be born again, that they're going to have this new spirit and this new soul, and it's all going to be able to receive the things of God. It's going to be capable of doing so. So he tells them something that has been given to them, but not to others, yet they don't understand a parable. And then he says this, whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. And he's getting ready to explain what Isaiah said. He's setting up this parable, the explanation of this parable, and he's speaking about the soul of a person. Specifically, he's speaking about our soul. He's speaking about how the mind operates, how it thinks. We talk about often that God will put his thoughts in you. And you need to know the difference between whether it's your thoughts about him and his own. The best way to do that is to get rid of one and only allow one to exist. That's why the title at Amana from 9 to 9:30 is titled at zero, because we realize we can't think the way God thinks. We also realize that if we do, it's going to get in his way. Those two things we know for certain. The Bible says that no man can understand God's ways. His ways are much higher than ours. Correct? All right. That means we're at zero. Okay, watch what he says. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear. And then he adds this, or understand. Soul realm. When he's talking about seeing, he's not talking about visual. He's talking about hearing, he's not talking about audible. He's saying you're not understanding. But he says, watch. He says, but they think they understand. That's what he's saying. You say that you see, but you really don't. You remember when Jesus said, those who are blind do not see, and those who know they are blind, they're going to see? That's what this is saying. It's confirming that that is true. That they have those who think they understand, and because of it, they're blind. They can't learn from me. Do you know there's only one way to Christianity, and that's to let Christ live in you? There's only one way to true Christianity. He says, my true family is found when I teach, not when Tijo teaches, or Pastor Jason, or Jaden, or yourself. Don't teach yourself stuff. You know, Saul thought he had it all. Then he became Paul. It doesn't mean to rhyme, but, but when he becomes Paul, what did he do? What do you think Paul did? Well, Paul tells us. He says, all that stuff I learned before, that's garbage. Did he not, Mr. Miles? 50 years of Saul's learning? He didn't have 50, but we're going to pretend that you're Saul, or that I'm Saul. Okay? And what did Saul have to do that we don't have to do? No, we got to do just like him. We got to be willing to go to the Spirit of God and let him teach us. Stop getting fed by people up here. Get fed in the one-on-one that God has provided for you now that you're born again. If you're not born again, you don't have it. If you are born again, then you've got it. He says in 14, in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You like that comment? If it's about you? About me? It's hard to hear, huh? You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. If you had 0, you don't have that problem. Because you're not battling with God. Your traditions and your Christianity won't get in the way of what's important to God. Do you know the Christianity or the belief system of the Jews was getting in the way of God because of their traditions? For instance, they thought they had to say the blessing before they ate the food. They had to. They had traditions that they thought had to be in place. And God says, because of them, I can't teach you. Let what's important to God take place and see to it that our traditions don't get in the way of that. And then He'll say, you know what? That's a good thing to bless the food. Make certain, though, that it doesn't become a ritualistic event before you eat. When God is going to speak and He's going to want to change the minds of the people, He's having a problem. The same problem we have. We have ways that we think we know about God, and God says, T.J., you don't know me. But I know you, and I know you well. He knew David's heart. He knew Abraham's heart. He knew Joseph's heart. And guess what? He knew Saul's heart, who was killing Christians. And he knew that those 4 men were going to come to him regardless. They were coming. And they were going to trust in him. And they would not let their traditions and their teachings get in the way. 15, for this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. You know why they would do that? Can anyone tell me why they might do that? Because they thought they could see. And they thought they could hear. They thought they understood. They thought they knew. That's what got me in trouble, and I didn't know I was in trouble because of it. Understand this. There's 2 things taking place with these people. One is ignorance, and one is stubbornness. God can deal with ignorance. He can't get through the stubbornness, though. The traditions of men and the beliefs of men and women, He said, they're in my way. You're going to start over every day, and you're going to depend on me, and you're going to trust in me, and I will be your God if you'll get still before me that way. He couldn't be their God because they already had one. They did. Their religious background created a God that said, this is what He looks like. Don't mess with it. I'm saying, I don't know what it looks like. Lord, mess with me. Do in me and do through me things that I would never understand, I would never do, I could never plan. And this is not to brag, but in the last 8 years, it's totally changed. My first 25 was effort on my end to do what only God was designed to do. Now, I get out of the way of that, and God gets to do whatever He wants to do through teacher. This is why we're sitting here and we're listening, because this is what we need to know. We need to know that maybe, just maybe, all we think about God is in His way, and we take everything that He teaches us, we give it right back to Him, and say, God, do it your way now. See to it that what you've taught me, that if 3 days from now you want to show someone else, it's not T.J. talking about it. It's you talking about it. The same way you used to teach me, you can teach others. But I got to stay out of the way. And that's why Paul talked about things that men could not understand. He's talking spiritual. He's doing just like Christ. Why? Because Christ was living in him. That was the mystery. Christ was doing the teaching. Otherwise. In other words, there's a choice here. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would... Whoa, that's not physical healing. I'd heal that soul realm. I'd do something with the soul realm that I gave you. I would see that it's cleaned out, and I can come in there, and I could truly be God. See, the healing there is not physical. Right here. Men, you're logical. I get in trouble for this sometimes. Men, you're logical. Be careful. Men, women, you're emotional. Be careful. Careful how we handle those things. God's designed a certain way to work together, and we have both those things in play for us. Is that correct? Can I hear an amen? Amen. Okay. Okay. Verse 16, but blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. Okay, so they're sitting there saying, why is he saying this? We don't see this parable yet. We don't understand it yet. Why is he saying this? He says it again. It comes out again in him because, you know, Jesus knows something about these men who've been walking with him. They've watched him do so many things that they did not comprehend, and they have it left. How you like that? When you start speaking spiritual from a pulpit, people leave. They leave. Because it doesn't make sense right here. But they didn't leave. So he knew their hearts, and he knew that he could speak to them and he could talk to them spiritually. Spiritually. God's way. Watch what happens. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see but did not see it, and to hear what you hear but did not hear it. Verse 18. First thing he tells them, he says, listen to what the parable of the sower means. So now the one-on-one or the 1-on-12 is taking place. The small group. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, stop. Soul realm. Did you get that? They did not understand the mind, soul realm. The evil one, stop. Probably not Satan, I don't know for certain. Probably the thing that's battling God, the way you think about him. That's the evil one, comes in and snatches it because his understanding either can't accept it or rejects it. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears a message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed that is sown along the path. In other words, you got your Christianity all laid out like that right there. It's hard. It's not pliable anymore. How you see God and how you understand him is a certain way. I plead with you to give up on that way. Can't teach it to you because it's going to come when God teaches it to you. We can point you in a direction, but we can't do it for you. This is not spoon-fed Christianity. It doesn't have the 1, 2, 3s and the ABCs on how to do something. It's found in the Holy of Holies, one-on-one with God, so that he can teach you his way. That's the path. It's solid, it's hard. Then he says, the seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. Have you not seen that? You start talking about Christ living in you, the Christian life, and when they first hear it, they're intrigued by it. They even come up to the pastor, oh man, this has changed my whole life. And then 2 months later, they're gone. No joke. You know why? They reverted back to, they still got that. As long as you still got that right there, that's what's going to happen on that soil or soul of the person. I'm a little fired up today. Mm-hmm. Verse 20, the seed fall. Okay, we read that one. But since they did not have root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of, watch, when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, because of the understanding. Because who's the word? Who's the word? Christ is the word. He's in you. And when he comes and he starts to teach you, you say, oh, I'm getting persecuted for that word. You know what the persecution is? I can't understand it. I don't know if I trust it. I don't know if I trust that invisible God that lives in me. I'm not sure I trust in my logic. My emotions are telling me something different. And I got nothing. I don't have a steering wheel to hold on to. So what do? They leave. The soul realm leaves and goes back to what it can handle. Because God says, oh, you who are evil, give good things to your children. How much more if you would just trust me, that I would give to you. Remember, he says, if you have a little, he says, I'll take it away. But those who have some and agree to my teaching, I'll give them even more. Pastor Jason and I talked a while back. I think Jason and Craig were all in the back. How long is this going to last? How much information are we going to be given? How much guidance are we going to continue to be given by God concerning this? It doesn't end. It hasn't stopped. And it's not a struggle. It's not a struggle to keep going. We don't go to websites to find a message. We got someone in us that has a message. And you do too. If you'll go and be taught by him. You know what'll happen, Donald? You learn to trust him that way and you'll find yourself in front of someone's pulpit. And when God is ready, he will teach them the same way he taught you. And you'll have nothing to do with it. Do people in here know what that's like? We're getting there. If you don't, we're getting there. We're learning how to get there, to let God teach. It said here, when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Then seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word. Here it is again, understanding, soul realm. But the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. Deceitfulness of wealth. Well, you know what that is. You get enough money in your pocket, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You don't come to God, because that's why you always come to God in the first place. You come to him because you want something from him. Not because you realize that you were created for his good pleasure and not your own. We're created for his good pleasure. Remember, he gives better than we give. He does much better than we do. Is this getting through?
Oh, it's so good.
It's getting through? Yeah, I know you too. Sponges. It's getting to us. It should be. It should be penetrating the spirit of the person. That we might hear exactly what Jesus said, whoever has ears, let them hear. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears a word, but the worries of this life and deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on good soil, watch. I dare you to refute that this is soul. But the seed falling on good soil, soul, refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. There it is again. This is not salvation message. It can be, because they might hear and understand and know that this is the Messiah. But that's just a moment in time. This is a coin parable. It's got a heads and a tails to it. So it could very well have that. But what good, as Pastor Jason says, to have a child? We just had family who was able to adopt a little boy and just take the little boy, and when they get home, put him on the road by Johnson Street, just leave him there. That's salvation. The church rejoices over that. We got to disciple that baby. We need to be discipled. And not man's way, but God's way. And not man saying that it's God's way. No, get man out of the picture and let God teach. It is not our responsibility to teach you this. It's your responsibility to go to him and find out one-on-one if this is true. That's what Craig Tate did on the way to Lake Charles. He asked me a million questions. We all know Craig Tate. He'll ask a lot of questions, and I'd just met him. And just out of nowhere, all these answers start coming out of me. Driving to Lake Charles. And I remember my wife, I'm in Las Vegas, and my wife's here. And we finally get here, and Cindy told me, she says, T.J., you just have to wait because there's an appointed time that God will use you. And all I was getting was information. And then all of a sudden, Craig Tate going to Lake Charles, the information starts coming out of me in a way that had never come out. In other words, God was taking what he taught me, and then he says, T.J., recognize he's asking a question. Now, I need you to be quiet and let me talk. And on the way to Lake Charles, that's what happened. T.J. was the T.J. that was driving the car, wasn't the T.J. who was speaking, because Christ was doing the talking. I'd never experienced such a thing. And it was clarity. And you know what Craig Tate said? As you should. He said, on the way back, he said, he didn't tell me this, but he called me later on. He said, T.J., I went back to Scripture to find out that the way you would think it was correct, and he says, it just captured me. And I've been changed. And Craig Tate's doing really good if you guys want to know. How you doing, Brother Tate? Here's what he says. You're going to hear the word. You're going to hear it. You're going to be able to hear it. And you're going to be able to see it. You're going to be able to understand it. It's not yours to handle at that point. It's still his to handle, okay? It's not yours to handle. It's his to handle. When he's ready, he'll give it to us. Verse 23, but the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. And this is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. Christ in us. Right? Evangelism. Let me tell you something. We talk about the one who plants, the one who waters, the one who gives the increase. Do you know it's all the same one? It says, you plant, you water. You say, Lord, you plant through me. You say, Lord, you water through me. You wait for him to plant. You wait for him to come water, and you're the vessel. And he says, then I'm going to produce increase in that person. And they're going to begin to know who I am. Confirmation letter, right? This is a confirmation letter. It really is. You know, it's a mirror. God's saying, T.J., this is what you look like. And you're supposed to be the image of the living God, and it still looks like you when you talk. It looks like you. It sounds like you. It's got some human elements to this thing. So, Joe, when God's ready to speak, what he's ready to talk about, and how he wants to deliver it is all on him, Jordan. It's his job. Do you trust him enough to find out if this is true? That's the question. Okay, we're done with today's message. See you on Facebook and YouTube. There's no one back there. Okay. Okay. We're all, okay, discussion time.